All right, time for a little bit of an experiment. I've tried numerous times to paint headers with off-the-shelf header paint, and I have never succeeded one time. Closest I ever have was just refreshing an already ceramic coated set of pipes on a motorcycle. It worked really well for that, but the pipes were already coated. It was just basically freshening up the finish. When it's come to actually using them on headers and bare steel, I've had zero luck. Generally, it turns into half of an octopus with leprosy. I don't know, it just burns off, it flakes off, it leaves all these funky weird spots, and it's pretty gross. Turns out if you read the instructions, there's a pretty strict protocol you gotta follow after it's been painted, and it's a heating up and cooling down and heating up and cooling down. So I'm gonna try an alternate version of that with the tools that I have and the tools that most guys probably have in the shop. And I'm gonna heat it up with a torch before I lay the first coat of paint. I'm going to let it cure as long as it tells me to, and then I'm going to heat it up and cool it down before I paint it. What I was also told to try was, once it's in the car, get the car up to temperature until this starts to smoke, which generally happens after a couple minutes. Shut it down, let it cure, do that a few times, and see if I can't get the paint to actually stick onto this thing. So stick around and we'll see if off-the-shelf header paint actually works. So the first thing I did was I took the wire wheel to it, I cleaned it off best I could, hit it with some degreaser and polished it off again best I could, and then I took it to the car wash and hit it with a pressure washer to try and get all the degreaser off, and then buffed it one more time with the wire wheel, trying to get as much of the stuff, or the old stuff off there as I could. So what I'm going to do to start, I just got your typical propane torch. That's the cheapest pencil tip nozzle you can find. Now you might remember a couple videos ago this thing crapped out on me, it quit working. Well, it turns out you can't use MAP gas with a propane torch. Who knew? So I don't know if it clogged it up or what it did. I messed around with it for a while and I eventually did get it to work, not the way that it's supposed to work, but I think it'll work better for this. So we'll see what happens. I'm gonna cook it. I did 3 coats of paint. I heated up the pipes before the first coat, and then I heated them up in between every other coat. Before the last coat, I noticed the paint starting to burn, and it looks like it was starting to come apart a little bit, I guess. So my confidence is starting to wane that this is actually going to work again. But we'll see. The next step is we're going to put it in the car, and then we're going to cycle it as the instructions say to cycle it with the car, because that wasn't really the preheat instructions, but I don't know how I'm supposed to heat it to 400 and then 600 degrees when it can't take the propane torch without burning. So maybe your oven can do 600 degrees, my kitchen oven can't, so I'm not even going to bother trying. We're going to slap it in the car, we're going to get the car up to temperature, and we're going to try and bake it that way. Found one of these exhaust studs was stripped, so I'm gonna rethread it with a bigger bolt. Alright, so there you have it. The header's installed. Fluids are all topped up in the engine, and we're going to fire this thing up. Instructions say to fire it up till it's up to temperature, then let it cool down, fire it up till it's up to temperature, let it cool down, do that 3 times. I have a feeling it's not going to get up to temperature before this thing starts to smoke, so I'm going to fire it up until it starts to smoke, and then I'm going to shut it down, and we'll see if the stuff works. Oh. Well, I gotta say I'm pleasantly surprised so far. I'm not getting excited yet, but I cycled that right up to temperature. It did smoke for a little while, and then the smoke kind of dissipated, and it got hot around just about 400 degrees, exhaust temps right at the head. So it held up. It hasn't started flaking. It's got a bit of a texture to it now, but it hasn't started boiling and burning off yet. So so far I'm happy. I'll do that 2 more times, like the instructions say, and maybe we have a winner. Yeah, that's right. Ran out of gas. Completely delegitimizes this whole experiment. Guess I let you guys down. Sorry. No, but really, I'm quite impressed. It didn't get fully up to temperature on that last heat cycle before it ran out of gas. But it did get up to around 400 degrees. It didn't bake off. It didn't flake off. It didn't smoke out the shop. I'm really happy with it. I'm not going to lie. I was skeptical based on my previous experience with this stuff. That was up to running temperature. That wasn't 8,000 RPM for prolonged periods of time like it's going to see. Now, like I said before, I didn't actually read the instructions prior to any of those paint jobs, and went through a little extra effort with these ones. If it gets through the season or the first batch of mud and dirt that bakes to it, I'll call it a win. Nothing you can't do at home. If you haven't had these work before and you want to try again, takes a little bit of time. I didn't do it all at once. It was probably over a week between actually painting the headers, getting them on the engine, and getting the engine running. So it did say to allow for 7 days cure time in there. I didn't do that on purpose. That's just when I was able to get back to it. So that might have played a part into it as well. But regardless, I'm really happy. For 20 bucks, they look pretty good. They stand out from the engine. There's no performance benefit to this other than it looks cool. And 90% of the time, I'm happy if it just looks cool. So, I don't know what's next, but when I figure it out, I will show you guys as well. So until then, thanks for watching. Pretty excited. It's the first time I fired it up since I took it all apart last year.